I came up with a new show idea, Libby. And it's going to be a show entitled Loan Shark Tank, where we have like 5 loan sharks on one side, and the people come in, these bust out degenerate gamblers come in, and they try to negotiate better terms on some kind of a loan and also secure the loan, even though their reputations may not match up with what would be considered spot on credit. And then you got some guy coming in there going, hey, listen, I'm looking for $600 at 2 points a week. I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you back. I know my reputation is not necessarily exemplary. And, then the loan sharks start picking them apart. It's like, well, what are you talking about, Johnny? 2 points a week. That's laughable. It's 7 points a week just to talk to me. What do you think?
I think it'd be classic.
And you get the music going. The guy comes out. He's clearly in need of the money. And they get that dun, 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 dun. And you got some guy that looks like Vito. He's Mr. Wonderful's chair, and Mr. Wonderful's chair, and he's just looking at the guy like, what a watermelon.
I was gonna say you have to have at least one of the people or behind them, enforcers, at least either behind them or off to the side
with that face, that the enforcer always has. Like, let me at him. How about a little taste of pain?
The beginning of every episode, it's a guy that fucking didn't pay last week. So they have to send a message.
Shit beat out of him, He's in some trash can peeling himself out. Man, here's last week's deadbeat. What do you think? Did I get some money to produce this thing? Is somebody going to steal the idea? I was afraid to unveil it here on the show because I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Loan Shark Tank.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Thursday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, that handsome gentleman over there is one Mike Lubitz, who's been on fire lately. I mean, especially, I love it when you get fueled up about college football. Segredo was astounded yesterday. He was just looking on in awe as you went on a long rant. I forget what. Was it about Florida State? No.
This is the Canes.
Canes, yeah. Well, Tony would be the wrong guy to talk to about negativity on the Hurricanes. I mean, he's a diehard Hurricane guy, and he's often reluctant to. I wouldn't say he's not honest about his opinion, but it's one of those things where you have a problem, and you just really don't want to embellish it. Mm-hmm. But the problem, I think, clearly is Mario Cristobal, or maybe it's just the circumstance that if FAU could make a Final Four in basketball. How could the Hurricanes not eventually be a powerhouse in the ACC in football? How is that possible, Louis? We have the most fertile recruiting grounds. Everybody always says that, although I don't know. Are we really better in terms of talent in South Florida? I mean, maybe per capita and per geographical square mileage or whatever, but than Texas and California. I mean, look, you would have to think those two are still the hotbeds of recruiting. No?
California and Texas are great. Georgia's come up a lot because they put a lot of
money.
Big time. They pay coaches really well. Louisiana is really good with recruiting. It's just Florida. It's because the entire state's great. Like South Florida in and of itself is the best actual region of any region in all of the country. But then Central Florida is really big with football. The northeastern part, the Jacksonville corridor is really strong with football. And then the Panhandle's always been big with football. So that's the thing. Statewide, we're third or fourth biggest state, and the entire state is football crazy and football hotbed. So that's the thing. The rest of the state, like Texas, there's areas. California, there's areas. Florida, the entire state is just freaking great with football, and the entire that's the problem for UM now is the entire country recruits the state of Florida really strong. So it's hard to get back in there. And that's the thing is Cristobal's done a good job at recruiting.
Yes.
Okay.
Supposedly, I mean, that's why it's surprising his teams aren't better.
He's done a really good job recruiting. Again, this is year 3. So this is the year where his recruits should be sophomores and juniors. So they should be getting run. So we'll see. This is the year that for Cristobal, even though his coaching is always an issue, the talent at least makes him look better. In Oregon, they won a conference. They went to a Rose Bowl. Like, even though he still screwed up like 2 games that year because he screws up games every year, the talent was so strong that even he couldn't mess it up from being at least good. And that's the problem is eventually he hits a wall, but at least in Miami, they'd be happy for good. They'd be happy for 10, 11 wins right now. So we'll see if he can do that this year.
Still have it ringing in my ears. Very early on in my career here in Miami, covering a Howard Schnellenberger press conference, which he used to hold in a little meeting room, and there'd be like 10 guys covering the team. And I remember him saying, what we have to do is draw a line right at West Palm Beach, and we have to win the state of Miami in recruiting. And you're like, oh, okay, what the hell does that mean, Howard? But we eventually became to understand it, or came to understand it, and it was a valid theory there for a long period of time. And then people started. Remember when Greg Schiano was putting billboards up here to try and recruit kids to Rutgers from South Florida? And you're thinking, really? I mean, when would you ever see a billboard with Rutgers on it? Actually, when would you ever see a billboard that didn't have a personal injury attorney ad on it on the highway these days? And as you're looking at that, you're crashing. I mean, they love it. It's serving a dual purpose for the $25,000 a month. They're paying for the billboard on the highway. All right, good to have you guys with us. No trivia challenge today. You trivia players, unfortunately. Dave Gurgly, and the rest of the world is at Saratoga. Everybody that I know is in Saratoga except me, Lubie. We got to get this thing going.
Yeah, sorry.
Kick it in here, so we'd be live from Saratoga. That would have been fine. We'd be able to accommodate that. Jersey Kyle left for Toga last night. Dave Gurgly, who would have been conducting the trivia challenge, has been there. I guess he might have gotten there yesterday. Joey Esposito, our good friend from the Cafe Seville, he's there with a crew, and apparently that's some crew because Jersey was hanging out on the fringes of this crew last year, and he's more than ready to sign up and hang with these guys again. They got like 2 tables in the clubhouse. They got this guy who is Mr. Saratoga. He snaps his fingers, and like 6 guys come over and pour you a water. Absolutely a fantastic time, and who wouldn't want to be there, right? 60 degrees. In the morning, you're walking around the countryside. When you breathe in, the air is laced with chlorophyll. You don't have to worry about the schmutz that you're breathing in here. Although I would say air quality, especially by the beach, not bad in South Florida.
No, I mean,
compared to other areas of the country.
Yeah, for sure.
Reasonably so. You don't have a lot of industry here. And when you get the ocean breezes, I think we're breathing in pretty clean air. The trouble is it's being processed through a blast furnace.
Yeah.
It really has been Schwitz City, which, like I say, I enjoy that. It gets rid of all the toxic material that you've consumed the day before, which yesterday for me, I mean, even though I think I'm taking it relatively easy and living a very healthy lifestyle, it still included 2 Budweisers and 2 margaritas yesterday.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to. It's so freaking hot.
My God, yeah. No, the 2 Buds are, I mean, these are smaller cans. They're 12-ounce cans, so I don't feel guilty about drinking 2 of them. And they go down very, very smoothly, Lubie. You always have to have the frozen mug. All right, a lot of interesting things happening. I've been doing some research, and this is in conjunction with the launch of Bury Your Bookie, which I'm 2-0 picking baseball games on Bury Your Bookie. I didn't give out a pick yesterday, but I did imply this, and I think we mentioned this on the show, that when handicappers get too sophisticated, which is a new trend, where they start delving into minutia and sabermetric type material that in a million years you would have never thought of when you were a kid growing up watching baseball. Would you ever, and I go back to this because, of course, it got lit up like a Christmas tree. Would you ever refer to XWOBACON, which is expected weight on base average contact?
Please.
What the fuck? This guy, Sean Trippetti of Action Sports, goes into this. And like I say, these things are always very eloquently written. You're looking at, and you're almost amazed at the level of research and statistical material that these people have poured over to make their selections. Essentially, you had the A's, who are not having any kind of a season. I mean, they're in fire sale mode. The A's going against the Mets on the road. The Mets in a dogfight to try and win the wild card, which wasn't necessarily anticipated for the season. Everybody thought this was going to be like a throwaway year for the Mets, so they were very happy. Got a new manager, and they didn't really do much during the offseason except try and account for the fact that their original plan didn't work. So not really high expectations for the Mets. They're fighting for the wild card. They've been slumping a little bit lately. And this guy gives you the Oakland A's based on this one stat here. Expected weighted on-base average contact. And he gives you the A's yesterday at plus 140 over the Mets. So, I mean, the natural inclination, and we've been saying this for a while. Now, I've been tracking this for years now. First with Las Vegas Sports Information Network, and now with this Action Sports. And you're marveling at the depth of detail with which these guys are analyzing games, and yet at the same time, they flat out suck when it comes to making selections.
Yep.
If you were going against these guys, you would be a rich man today. So the inclination immediately was, and the implication was, go against this. And of course, what was the final, Lubie? Mets 9, A's 1.
Okay.
So what was the meaning? I mean, it's insane. Whenever I see this, I'm going to go against it from now on.
Okay.
I'm going to unload. I'm going to invest my own money in this. We wouldn't have to work anymore if we were doing this from the start
There
of the
you
season.
go.
It's fantastic. All right, but that being said, I'm going to give out a pick here in the golf tournament, which, wow, I mean, this would be right up there with Martin Keimer. In fact, it would actually exceed the amount of money we accrued back from the Martin Keimer play, and that's 2014, right? U.S. Open. Martin Keimer won it 2014, Lubie. We were relatively new to each other at that point. When did we start doing this shit? Like 2010, maybe?
2010.
Wow. It's a long time ago, Lou. 15 years.
Yeah,
That's actually a reasonable percentage of my life, much less yours. That's almost a third of your life, Lubie.
yes.
More than that.
It's
My God. It's like
my life.
40% of your life has been spent working with me on these shows.
That's a lot.
Has Shirley talked to you about this at night and said maybe it's time to make a move? Or what do you think?
No comment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and who knows? You never know what's going to hit. I'm optimistic about this because I think if you're giving out winners and you have an entertaining approach to handicapping, you're probably going to find a slot somewhere in the gambling-generated talk world.
Yeah.
That you can have a measure of success with, whether you're doing it by subscribers, whether you're doing it by advertisers, just overall reach. There's a way to get this stuff out there. So, and like I always say, Lubie, if you're not doing anything, which is the reason I decided to sustain this stuff, if you're not doing anything, you have no chance.
Yeah.
People are always talking about, oh, yeah, well, I could do a better show than you. It's like, well, so where's your show?
Yeah, do a show.
Do one. Try it, right? Program directors were always telling you how to do stuff, and you're thinking, oh, why don't you sit behind the mic here for 4 hours with all kinds of technical problems and see if, where nobody calls talk shows anymore, and see if you can't, sustain like a week's worth of shows. Almost anybody could put in like one good effort.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it every day. I would say that's kind of separates real talent from people that have good ideas but aren't necessarily going to be professional communicators in this particular genre. So anyway, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I love betting golf, but I don't do it as often as it may seem, and we talk about it a lot. I don't lay as much cash out there. It's not like when we discuss a tournament. I don't think I've made a golf bet this year. I had DeChambeau in his one winning effort. But other than that, I mean, a couple of times I've sprinkled a few dollars here on golf tournaments. In this case, I'm going to take a shot here at 50-1, Lubie, in the FedEx St. Jude Classic, which is the opening tournament of the FedEx Cup competition, which is a cockamamie thing. Sort of. I mean, is it similar? No, it's not the same as the NBA in-season tournament, is it? Because that appears to me to be totally meaningless, which is why I'm also amazed. I mean, we get on Segreto a lot about the time where he had to analyze the Dolphin schedule before the season started, and the schedule would come out, and literally they would put aside all other news.
Bombings.
I mean, Putin could be assassinated by his own people, and they still would have pushed it aside and said, okay, well, Putin's dead, but here's Tony Segreto.
100%. Every year.
Trump has dropped out of the race, but here's Tony. The Dolphin schedule came out, and it looks like it's going to be a really good season. What do you think, Tony? And he literally would have to go through the most futile of exercises, especially in football, where you have no idea what the games are going to look like when they actually come up. I mean, if you're in week 10 and you're predicting that the Dolphins are going to beat whatever, the Pittsburgh Steelers, how do you know before the season starts that Tua Tagovailoa isn't going to be in a cast by then? It's possible, or that any number of things could happen and go wrong and change the entire complexion of what that game might look like. It's impossible.
Yep.
It's hard enough to do it on a week-to-week basis, much less now. And that's not to dissuade anybody from taking over-unders. I'm starting to believe that maybe the Patriots will be better than everybody thinks, because there's not a single person that I've seen that doesn't come up to me and go, hey, you want the best bet of the year? Patriots under. I think it's 4.5 games.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to win one game. I don't see them winning more than 4. I mean, they are bereft of talent.
Okay, so there's another one. You're on the pile too.
They're really bereft of talent, and it's a dude that's never coached. Mayo, I know, was like a linebacker coach, and I guess he was the pseudo DC. I don't know, but he wasn't doing a lot. Belichick was doing everything, and it was look. Belichick was struggling to win games with
Yes.
this kind of a roster. I mean, I don't know. If they win 4 games, I don't know if that is impressive. I mean, that's about right. I don't see them winning more than 4.
They are the favorites too to be the most feudal team in the National
They just
Football
have
League.
they don't really have talent. I mean, they just don't. I mean, they just
Worse than Carolina.
yeah. Carolina has at least drafted decent high and spent decent money. The Patriots haven't really spent money, and they haven't drafted. It's just
It looks to be a mess, and they have no quarterback, right? I mean, what are they doing? Going with Jacoby Brissett, a career backup?
no, the guy Zappi, I think is.
You think Bailey Zappi's going to end up starting? I think Brissett's going to start over him. No,
God, I don't know. I mean,
not that it matters, because I mean we're happy that the Patriots suck because they were great for so many years.
Yeah, I mean it's time. I don't feel bad for them.
Yeah,
like
you can't knock what they're doing if they have like 4 or 5 down years after a 20-year run like that. All right, I mean it's part of the cyclical nature of sports, Lubie. The cyclical nature of sports.
They had 20 years of greatness. It is what it is.
And think about that. I mean, if they had 10 years of greatness and then floundered, you would have thought, wow. Well, I mean, in modern day standards, that's dynastic.
In the NFL, again, you're on like 3 to 5 year runs.
Yes.
And that's just what it is with the salary cap. Eventually, you pay the quarterback. So then you have to lose guys. Outside of a Mahomes or a Brady, no one's ever figured out how to sustain it and just have the quarterback carry shit talent. Even Rodgers, after like 5 or so years of it, got sick of it. It gets the team struggled to sustain it. So the fact that the Patriots did it for that long and they're bad now, okay. Like I take that in a heartbeat.
You're 3-1 to be the worst team in the league. You're only getting 3-1. The Broncos are 6-1, Panthers 7-1, Giants are 10-1. Giants should be a little bit better. No, I don't know. Daniel Jones comes back.
They've done decent drafting, and I actually like Dable. I just think last year was a shitstorm with Jones getting hurt. And
he made a fatal mistake, though, Lubie. He lost a lot of weight.
Really?
He went from being a fat guy to being a normal sized guy. I was watching, speaking of strange shows, well, I happened upon this last night. Have you ever seen this show, My 600-Pound Life?
No.
Very much like The Whale, that movie, The Whale, that was popular there for a while. I don't know, was being shown consistently on Showtime and other channels. The Whale, where the guy's like 500 pounds or whatever.
I've actually watched it. I know Mayo talked about it, and then you actually sat and watched it. The description of it was enough for me. It's
hard to watch. I mean, it's hard to watch somebody destroy themselves, isn't it?
That's the thing. I don't mind depressing movies. I don't mind heavy movies. I will cry with the best of them. But if I know a movie's just, I don't to watch someone just ruin themselves.
Oh my God!
Sure, artistic value, but I haven't been able to sit and watch it.
It's hard to imagine how much you would have to eat to go from like being a normal sized person, unless you had some kind of hormonal problem, and people do it. And look, it was tragic to watch some of this stuff and see how awful these people. I mean, how good can you feel if you weigh 600 pounds, Lubie? And these were women that they were featuring. There was a guy, some Iranian doctor called, he goes by Dr. Now. Have you seen this guy?
No.
And he's supposedly like a weight loss expert and a guy who does the surgeries also. But when you're 600, 700 pounds, as a couple of these people were, I mean, it was a woman 700 pounds she started out at.
It's so crazy. Look, again,
700 pounds. That's me, you, Mayo, and Andy all put together.
I mean, weight used to run in my family, but I don't know. I've always wondered how people get to that place. Like, I guess I have a lot of self-control.
How far out there do you have to get?
I don't know. I've always wondered, and I try not to judge others because you don't know what people are going through, but I've always wondered, like, how do you get there? Like, you can see it early on, and you didn't just, like, there's plenty of food choices now that taste decent that aren't horrendous for you. Like, you didn't, and they aren't, I understand it can be expensive to eat super healthy, fine, but you can eat healthier than whatever that is. Like,
these people were losing weight while I mean, they were losing hundreds of pounds while eating, just stacks of food anyway.
Yeah.
Just switching up a couple of things.
You weigh that much, it's actually easy to lose weight. You have to start. And it's really hard for a lot of these people to start and then keep up with it.
Well, I mean, and this was a tough show to watch. It really was because this woman is shoveling pizza in her face and stopping on the way. She's going to see this guy, which is her last shot. She believes to find any kind of happiness and joy in life, and maybe even another few weeks to live. You would have to think the stress on your heart was so immense.
Yeah, yeah.
And just getting in and out of the car and in and out of chairs. I mean, I felt that way when I was weighing like 250 something.
Yep.
It was like, oh, wow. I mean, well, what a load you are, DeForest. And I was still active playing tennis, whatever. But these poor people. It was really hard to watch. And not everybody had success at doing it. But you would have to. And the big question, of course, is your heart strong enough to withstand surgery?
Well,
You
that's
had,
the
to, you had to
problem.
lose like 200 pounds just to be in a position to get this surgery, which still left you in a situation where you had to lose another 400 pounds
Yep.
before you were like a normal person.
If you're super overweight, you actually can't have surgery. Like they won't do it. It's a risk. Just your body won't take the pressures of surgery
Yeah.
because of all the weight your body has. It's a vicious circle, and it's sad. And I've never watched these shows. I know. I think my mom used to love them because
This
they
was
would
a
always.
tough watch, Libby. I ended up watching like 2 hours of this stuff.
Oh my god, good for you. Yeah, I can't.
No, it wasn't good for me.
It's a lot.
Depressing as all hell. It really was. I mean, the one woman finally got over it. And I don't know, if she went all the way through, but she had the surgery. She made it to that. She had to lose 200 pounds just to get into a position to have the surgical procedure. I remember when this is unfortunate too, because I dismissed it yesterday. Tony was all over this J.J. McCarthy meniscus tear. I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
think it
crazy.
would eliminate him for the season. Did you, Lubie?
I didn't know meniscus was that. Like we found a way that you
I
can
guess there are
come
different
back
grades of it.
ACL. A meniscus is a less egregious injury of an ACL or an Achilles. I didn't know you missed years for that. Like that's crazy.
I walked down to the hospital. I literally did. Nothing. I remember I had it done, and they were like helping me up, and I was saying, here's how you use these crutches. And I said, well, wait a minute, I don't feel that bad. Let me see if I can walk. And I walked to the car and drove home. That was it. Now, different grades, obviously, but I didn't think that was a season-ending injury. Did you? When I read
Oh,
about
no.
it, I thought maybe the guy misses a month of the season. So,
Yep.
so that set him back. They got Sam Darnold now. It's amazing how teams all of a sudden adapt and then have overwhelming, unwavering confidence in a guy that you've never seen do shit in terms of sustaining a high level of success. Let's put it that way. Sam Darnold has had a couple of good games, but in general, I mean, if Sam Darnold is your quarterback, aren't you thinking, I mean, this guy's become a veritable journeyman at this point? This was a guy who, was he the number 3 overall pick that
Yes.
year? And I made the mistake because I was a USC fan of thinking that he was going to be good. And then all you had to do was track the history of USC quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's not particularly flattering. Carson Palmer, I guguess, would be.
Palmer's
Even
on-
Paul McDonald, who was a quarterback I watched when I was covering a team, left-hander, very crafty quarterback, and had the size. It wasn't like he was Pat Hayden. He didn't do much in the pros. Nothing.
don't think any of
Highly
them
successful at USC.
I mean, Palmer ended up having a nice career, but it was massively injury riddled. So it's pretty much an incomplete. And every other quarterback they've had has been a sort of a mess, to be honest with you.
Mark Sanchez was another guy everybody was high on. He couldn't do much.
No, I mean,
Oh my God.
Mark Sanchez.
Ugliness. Yeah. So Sam Darnold, I thought he was going to be good. I
liked
probably
him a
should have looked
lot.
at the trends.
Well, the professor and I both liked him a lot.
Professor liked him too. Wow.
I mean, he did go through the Jets, so we know that they can ruin careers.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's all on Darnold, but yeah, he's been other places now, and he hasn't been able to find a foothold anywhere.
Suddenly, there's no problem. They have overwhelming confidence that Darnold. Well, you know what? I tell you what, he's really looking good in practice. He picked up the system right away. This guy is a workaholic. He's a gym rat. They gave all the standard cliches. When you should be putting on a press release that just says the headline on it, "We're fucked." But yeah, I didn't think a meniscus tear was going to keep a guy out for the entire season. I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 months here, Lubie. That had to be somewhat of a mystery. Anyway, a lot of people making predictions, but this one struck me, and we were talking about Tony and how he had to do the prediction before the season on the Dolphins schedule. Can you imagine? And you can bet on anything these days. Can you imagine betting on the NBA Cup odds to win the NBA Cup, and then going a step further into freakdom, you're betting on the favorites to win or anybody to win the MVP of the in-season tournament, which wasn't that like a colossal joke last year? The whole in-season tournament, it had no impact on the regular
I
season.
didn't I still don't get the point of it. The Pacers ended up going far, so maybe it helped the Pacers.
Yeah, and the Lakers weren't awful.
The Lakers didn't make the playoffs, but they faced the Nuggets team that swept the crap out of them again. Not the Nuggets. Did they lose to the T-Wolves? I guess the Nuggets. I don't know. I don't understand the tournament. I don't think most teams take it seriously. It's weird to me in the middle of your season to play more games that really don't matter. I don't understand it at all. I mean, I actually do like the thing at the end of the year. At the beginning, we thought we made fun of it a little bit, but I actually do like that those 2 extra spaces make those 4 spaces matter more, and it's contentious, and you do have the playoffs.
The play-in tournament.
The play-in. I like that.
That thing's good.
And that adds value. I don't like the in-season thing. I think the in-season thing is fucking dumb.
I'm not a fan of the idea that more than half the teams, and in this case, when you have going down to number 10 to get a postseason berth, you're talking about 2/3 of the league make the postseason.
Yeah.
So you play 82 games to eliminate 10 teams from the process.
Yeah, and it undervalues. I mean, the regular season means really nothing these days, 100%. But the end of the year, at least you were still having people vie for this spot, vie for that spot. Again, the Heat found a way through the play-in 2 years ago and went to a finals, so you can get on a run. And you have seen teams that were flirting. Look, the Pacers were flirting with the play-in a lot of last year, and were in the Eastern Conference Finals and did push the Celtics. Yeah, they got swept, but they pushed them in all 4 games or 3 of the 4 games. So, to me, it at least makes the end of the season a little bit more fun. Again, do you want?
It's like the added wild card in baseball. I was appalled by the notion. And now I don't mind it at all. In fact, they added in more teams since that time, and it seems to have had a favorable impact. I mean, you're looking at races all across the board there that otherwise would be ice cold and dead, already well decided. If they didn't have, what do they have now? 3 wild cards in Major League Baseball? 3, huh? Wow. It's a lot of wild cards, Lubie.
It's a lot of, look, the more playoff teams sort of sucks. It devalues the spots. It devalues the postseason. It devalues the regular season. I get that, but the NBA regular season was a joke regardless. So
it does make it more exciting at the end, though. You are correct in that fact. And yeah, I mean, then there's a certain level of treachery that's involved if you're at the bottom. And even if you are content to settle for the 7th or 8th seed, you still find yourself in a little more jeopardy than you would have had they not put this in play. And then you have more cities that keep their fans involved in games that otherwise would be considered dreadfully lame and of no value whatsoever. All right, we're going to come back with more. We didn't really get started. I was going to give out a pick here. I'm going to give out a pick in the golf tournament, the St. Jude Classic. Okay.
Yeah, it's always a decent tournament.
Can I duplicate the? This will be like a 50-1 shot.
Okay.
50-1, and that's the thing about golf. In golf, if you're betting, look, you get your money's worth if your guy's in contention. You really do. I don't even if you bet Scotty Scheffler, if he's in contention, every shot is of critical importance.
It's 4 days. It's 4 days of action. If they can make it through the cut, I mean,
this is. The thing. I'm not even sure this guy will make the cut. He's missed the cut at this tournament 2 of his last 3 times. Oh, God. And I'm going to give him out as a play at 50-1. All right, we're going to come back. Come back with more. You got the Dolphins. You have the Dolphins playing their second preseason game. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of concern about the Dolphins, other than the one red flag that went flying was a backup quarterback, so looked inept in their first preseason game. But you could also shrug that off and say, well, it was the first preseason game for them too. It's possible. I don't know. Will they redeem themselves in this game? I would imagine you see 0.0 of 1 Tua Tagovailoa.
So what happened to games on Thursdays and Fridays? So they've tried to even make the preseason something special. There's one game tonight, and it's the
Patriots. Yeah.
And then there's no games tomorrow. Like, wasn't there always games? Some games Thursday. Some games
Friday night was a good night for a preseason game.
And a couple games Saturday. No game Sunday. Now it's only Saturday and Sunday. Like, it's preseason. Like, what are they? Like, the NFL gets a little greedy to me. Like,
you think?
I know that's
There's a statement.
obvious.
That's a good one.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
like
obvious.
Dan Ravel here. NFL gets a little greedy. Good
But
one,
like,
Lubie.
it's the preseason, guys. Like, no, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not sitting at home on a Saturday night going, "Holy shit, the Rams and the Cardinals."
I mean, I can't make heads or tails of any of it. I wouldn't even know. I mean, what would you be zeroing in on in any of these games? Texans, Giants, Jets, Panthers. You're not going
The
to see any
thing
Aaron
too,
Rodgers. Jets
Aaron
are
Rodgers.
1-point favorites over the Panthers on the road.
I don't know if you're going to see a lot of Aaron Rodgers. That's true. Aaron Rodgers shouldn't play at all.
He probably won't see a snap, will he?
But Bryce Young should play. Bryce Young should play a lot. Isn't this the important game or is the next? I don't know which one's the big.
None of them are anymore. I mean, they eliminated one game and all of them became completely meaningless. Is that not true? I mean, look at the approach that people had last year. It was unreal.
I think it is.
These preseason, even John Harbaugh doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
How great is that? The Ravens lost the game. Their opener. I mean, who knows who's doing what or what they're looking for? I mean, are they just trying to find guys at the very bottom end of the roster that they think they can have on the team so that they can balance out the fact that they're grossly overpaying many others on the roster via the salary cap? It's crazy. All right, so yeah, you do have the Patriots and the Eagles tonight, and the Patriots, who are 3-1 to be the worst team in the National Football League. This shows you how insane betting preseason football is. Now, I just told you, I mean, they're substantially favored to be the worst team in the NFL this year. Every person that comes up to me, I mean, I'm bombarded by people who go, hey, Defo, I'll tell you something.
I'm trying to think
and you're like, tell me what? And they're all telling me that the Patriots can't possibly win 5 games this year.
I'm trying to think of who could be worse, but like, look, the Dolphins that year, right? The Dolphins actively were trying to tank. They got rid of anyone with talent.
Yes, and they still won 5 games.
And they brought nothing back on purpose, and they still won 5. So, yes, You're not wrong. You can find a way to get to 5, maybe 6 games. Other teams get hurt, and I don't know. Teams
do stupid things and lose to teams like this.
And Flores was a new coach then, too, who had been in the Patriot system. So maybe, it can repeat itself there. Maybe Drake May, who's been abysmal, comes in the second half of the year after learning for half a season and shows the flashes he showed at Carolina so that they win some games. When other teams have, I don't know. To me, when you look at that roster, it's increasingly gotten worse, even back to Brady's last days. And if Belichick was struggling to win with that roster, what the fuck is Mayo going to do? That's sort of what I think.
Would you lay 2.5 with the Patriots tonight against the Eagles, who collapsed in colossal fashion last year after getting off to a 10-0 start? Weren't they 10-0 at one point? The Philadelphia Eagles, and then all of a sudden, they were going to fire their second-year coach, who had taken them to the Super Bowl the year before, nearly won the thing, and all hell had broken loose with the Philadelphia Eagles. Not sure about Jalen Hurts. I mean, last year made him look a little bit suspect, did it not?
He looked like the guy I thought he was. Their offensive line wasn't, the defensive line didn't, even though I had the same talent. So I don't know what the fuck happened to the defensive line. It fell off dramatically. And the offensive line was not as good as it had been the year before. And that was their game, was he got a lot of time and they were able to run and he was able to run. And also teams stopped letting him run. And we saw in games where he had to sit there and be in the pocket and throw, he's just a vastly different quarterback and they're a vastly different team.
Yeah. So how do you make any sense of this? You got Patriots 2.5 over the Eagles.
I guess Eagles, just because they've been more depth.
Should be an investigation if the Patriots beat anybody this year,
honestly,
according to most of the experts. All right, we're going to come back with our golf pick. All right, we're going to make you some money, 50-1. To see if
you better put money on it, because if it does come through, you're gonna be pissed.
I'm definitely going to lay at least. I mean, if you lay a 20 on a 50-1 shot, you get back 1,000.
That's great.
So is it not worth risking a 20 to see? I mean, to back, have some kind of faith, some kind of commitment that you're ready to go ahead and bury your adoring public. I mean, it's not like you have to bet a lot of money on this shit. That's the thing. A small taste in a golf tournament, and you have action for the whole time.
I was going to say, if this person that
they're in there, it's great.
Makes the cut, you'll be like, oh, fuck. You have the best weekend ever.
Golf is a huge hedge betting sport, though.
And you can hedge.
Because you can hedge off and bet the guy, to win it. Top 5, top 10, top 20, make the cut.
Yep.
And, of course, if you really wanted to hedge, you also bet him to miss the cut. Which is more likely to happen than him winning it. That's for sure. All right, we're going to come back with more here. And we never really finished our thought on this NBA Cup, did we? I mean,
Oh, I
imagine that
tried.
ESPN. This is what struck me about it, and maybe this is what got me watching the 600-pound life with these, really badly and morbidly obese people trying and struggling against weight loss. And while they're on their way, this one woman's driving from Washington, like a 4.5-hour drive from somewhere in the sticks of Washington, the state, to Houston, where this doctor now is. And it turns out he's the executive producer of the show, this Iranian doctor, who looks like Paul Bearer, actually. It's kind of funny. He comes in, he really does look like the manager of The Undertaker.
Oh, God.
It's like Peter Lorre walks in and says, "So how are you feeling? What have you been eating?"
Not give me confidence.
And this woman, I guess, the habits are what they, are. I mean, you find yourself. I found myself at the fridge last night after I told myself I wasn't going to eat anything the rest of the day after that giant consumption we had at Batch Southern Kitchen.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I mean, I didn't go into anything heavy duty like these people were, but on the way to Houston, which took them like a massive number of days because a woman couldn't travel that long in a car.
Oh, God.
They stopped at every fast food place and had like stuff that in a million years you would think if I ate this once, I'm going to be hospitalized.
To go to the because
she's on her way to go and get this weigh-in to see where she needs to go to even be a possible candidate for this surgery. I guess the guy wants to test the person's willpower a little bit also, which makes some sense because he's figuring if you're not committed to the smallest of things like easing off on the food a little bit, then what good is this surgery going to do you? It's just going to be negated by the fact that you have lost all semblance of self-control. But I mean, I couldn't believe what these people were eating on the way there. It was incredible. And then she tipped the scale at even Haystacks Calhoun only weighed 601, Lubie. 601. He could never lose that 1 pound. And they weighed him with the horseshoe still around his neck, which that had to add like 2 pounds. Hey, babe. But that's what happens when ESPN starts analyzing the NBA Cup.
I love that they're doing that. Like they're
promoting the schedule of the NBA fucking Cup, Lubie. Come on. Who would care about that?
That's at the middle of the year. Oh, they made it at the beginning of the year. Is that what it is? It's in November.
The schedule for these games came out, which are arbitrarily selected somehow by By Jose Suleiman from the grave? I'm not sure. Who picks these fucking games to be part of the NBA Cup? Is everybody involved in the Cup? And how is that determined? But whatever. I mean, they just spotlight certain games. Remember, and they had the funky looking court, which the way it showed up on TV, it was like a video game. And they try to modernize it. I guess it's probably appealing to somebody that, and is a stroke of marketing genius that we, as old stodgy sports fans, just don't understand. Is that possible, Lubie?
Sarni said they wanted to get interest in November. It succeeded. And I wanted to respond, but we moved on so many times that I left it alone. How did you know it succeeded? Because no one I know not only paid attention to it, understood it. Like my friends are big and like I've grown up, you guys make fun of me, but I actually don't watch the regular season like I used to. I barely watch the Heat these days. I don't have Bally and they stress me out, even though I know the games.
You don't get to see the local games, Lubie?
Wow. I don't have it. So I don't really worry about it. I keep an eye on what's going on. If it's a national game, I watch a little, but I don't really watch regular season. My friends do. My friends are into it. And the Knicks are better now and they're Knicks fans, so they really get into it. And I remember trying to talk to them about the tournament and none of us understood it. Like even they were like, "Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this means." So I'm like,
it's crazy. It doesn't seem to have any great significance, and I don't know that it made the games loom as being more important in the eyes of fans. Did it?
Sarni keeps talking about the ratings were better. I were they? Like again, I don't know personally. Anyone?
They probably worked. Who the hell knows? Yeah.
People could have. I'm not. Again, they tracked the numbers, so obviously someone watched something more than they were. Fine. No one in my life and everyone around, I have a lot of people around my life that are big sports fans. None of them were like, "Oh, I'm going to watch it now." Because it's
Didn't it seem like it was more of a nuisance?
It was confusing. I didn't know this game means something, this game doesn't. I'm like, they all mean something. It's a fucking regular season. I don't but this one isn't the regular season anymore. I'm like, okay.
A clear indication that the NBA needs to cut its season down to like 70 games, no?
Yeah, they just cut the season
down. Or they're
down.
grasping at straws to find any reason to make these games seem like they're of any importance. Early regular season NBA games. Now, in my opinion, and I always thought this about baseball, where everybody was talking about, well, it's what you do in September, which it may well be true because you can't stink in September usually and end up in the championship hunt.
But if you
But
don't suck
is
in
not the
May,
game on opening day of equal significance to the one that's played on September 30th?
100%. Well, the 1 year the Marlins weren't fucking atrocious in April and May, they found a way to make the playoffs because they hung around all year. Like putting yourself behind the 8 ball early isn't the dream.
No. So yeah, you would think there was enough significance there, but should you make a big deal out of it? It's funny how we have to be pointed in the direction of believing that something is of significance for us to pay attention to it. I'm not being duped by that, Lubie, and I know you aren't either. Sarni, I guess, got sucked into it at least from the standpoint of saying, hey, it was good for the NBA. But I don't. I mean, can you really watch analysis of the upcoming NBA Cup before the season even starts?
I mean, I guess free agency for the most part's happened. So these are sort of the drafts happen, Olympics have happened. So we sort of have the roster set. So I guess you can start talking NBA. We haven't even had football yet. I mean, I don't know. I've become very year sensitive to sports. Like when we're in the middle of the NBA, I don't really want to talk football. We're in the middle of football. I don't really want to talk basketball. We get so into the sport when it's on that I get over.
But you're an NBA fanatic. I would have to say that.
Well, in the playoffs, yes. When the playoffs are there, I'm watching the playoffs, especially these play. I mean, actually, these playoffs sucked, but because the hockey was going on, the NBA was going on, even though the series actually weren't great in the NBA, I got into it and I look at it, and then when it's done, I'm done. Like, I don't want to talk about next year in the middle of this year. Like, it's not NBA time for me, and the fucking cup won't change that.
Yeah, spotlighting games as if, don't make any plans on November 14th. The Lakers visit San Antonio, LeBron and Wembanyama. That's like, wouldn't it not have been the case if there was no NBA Cup? I believe that they would still be going there on that date. And,
exactly.
It would be LeBron against Wembanyama, no? Or are they going to sit those guys because it's not a cup game? That's
when guys were
the fuck are they trying to pull here, Lubie?
Half of the Heat's cup games. What are you talking about, Tyler?
I'm telling you, it's the only reason I watched 2 hours of these fat women suffering because of the fact that NBA had so alienated me by putting, and having people jumping up and down with pom poms on. Ladies in pasties and a G-string are getting up there and going, "Whoa, NBA Cup coming up!" Like, wow, ESPN, how the mighty have fallen. I mean,
it's rough. No, it's rough.
I'd almost rather go and watch a rerun of a Stephen A. Smith show when, the Mad Dog is on, Chris Russo, and they both have a scream off, and they could throw in Teddy Atlas too from that atrocity that I don't get it, Louis. How stupid are we being made to out to be by the executives of television networks, Louis, and the leaders of leagues?
Well, it's that or gambling shows with people that have never gambled in their life.
You're looking at like a 23-year-old guy, and you're thinking, give me Billy Walters, okay? Even dig up Jimmy the Greek. But I don't know. Is this schmuck betting his brains out? And then I'm always surprised, though, Lubie, and you're not really part of this contingent of you. What would you be? You're not really a Gen Xer. What millennials?
The end of Gen X, beginning of millennial. I feel and consider myself more Gen X. My whole life I was Gen X, and then when you look at the age era, they somehow made me the first year of millennial. Okay. But look, now with Gen Z out there, millennials look old now too.
Oh, Gen Z there is, yeah.
Gen Z is like my...
Are these the guys that are sending it in, though? I mean,
yes. Gen Z to whatever the fucking the young kids, from 17 to like 30, they go in. And it's daily on, and they pay $10 to try and win $5,000, and one of their 18 friends win. So then they all do it every day. And I'm sure
that's how FanDuel is able to run every commercial. I mean, Aaron Judge hits number 300, and when he smiles, it has FanDuel in his teeth. It's amazing. All right, we're going to come back with more. We're going to try and work these spots in for our loyal and faithful sponsors here on the program, and then come back and wrap this thing up. Yes. Although, wow, I mean, and I haven't given out my pick yet, the burial pick on the golf tournament. So,
do you have a pick? Because you're teasing it.
I do. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and wager on this guy because you have to go. Never mind these stats, like this ridiculousness of the wow. I still can't get over this expected weighted on base average contact. Imagine your agent comes into the meeting. You're looking for another $7 million a year, and he goes, "Hey, look at this."
His ASVAB is what the fuck's an ASVAB?
And some salty dog GM is there.
I don't want to be anti-analytics, but they break the minutia down so much. It's like,
You're talking to Harry Dalton when he was a GM of the Orioles, and then later on the Angels. So some real old salty dog, baseball guy with stitches on his head, seams on his head, and you're saying, "Hey, what about the XWOBA con?
it's like, yeah,
Have you looked at that, Harry?"
that was a great time in our country. It seems like a war era.
It's nuts. All right, back with more and the golf pick. Now the odds are going to plummet if everybody dives on this thing. I don't know that we as an audience and
I think you'll be fine. I think you'll get your odds.
an entity here on the show, the Defo Show, could possibly bet enough money on this guy to sway the odds.
No, you'll be fine.
And if you are, then I disavow any knowledge of this thing. And I never said it. I'm going to go Trump on this and just say, listen, who said anything about grab him by the pussy? That wasn't me.
Exactly.
That was Billy Bush's idea all along, man. He roped me into it. He tricked me into it, and they misinterpreted what I said. Back with more in a moment. Now that. Grab him by the pussy. It's 8:51. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
The world, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten me sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
And under the auspices of we'll find a way to bet on anything, here we go with the St. Jude and Marlo Thomas, Danny Thomas, the whole thing. St. Jude.
Sarni wants you to give a pick for the FedEx. That's like the...
Well, what it is, the FedEx St. Jude Classic.
Okay.
It's part of the FedEx. I don't know who wins the...
isn't the FedEx the Cup, the playoffs, and then I still don't...
The playoff, yeah. It's starting. This is the first tournament of this playoff that the winning golfer gets like $80 million or something. And, it's not as if they need the money, but and it's sort of a cockamamie tournament that they came up with, I guess, tantamount to what? A tournament of champions of sorts?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And they got rankings. I don't understand the point rankings, But Scheffler's won the most tournaments. He has the most points. And Xander Schauffele is right in there drafting behind him. And those two would be the favorites, of course. But there's no romance in golf and betting chalk. There just isn't. And I would imagine, even with the high winning percentage, I don't know. How many events has Scotty Scheffler been in this year? Maybe 30? Is it that many? Maybe not even that many. And he's won like 7 tournaments.
He's played a lot.
Yeah. So, if you're getting him at 3-1 and you bet him every time out, let's say he played in 21 tournaments and you're getting him at 3-1 and he wins 7, you're even. So, what's the fun in that, Lubie? None. 0.0, my friends. Now, maybe you know how to time the thing, and you know when Scheffler's due for a victory. You got that streak going there. We won a bunch in a row. And there have been other guys that have been knocking on the door. Schauffele's been sensational. He's won 2 majors. But I think he's like 6-1 in this thing. So you start looking where? At about anything from 15 to 1 higher?
To me, you would want like 12 to 15 to 1 and then up.
Because what are the odds? I mean, how many people? The fields are down to like maybe 70 guys for these tournaments. I think in the FedEx Cup tournaments, they don't have like 150 guys in there. So, but your odds are still any of these guys could pop up and win. We know this. It's golf, for God's sake. All right, so I'm going to give you Billy Horschel. Horschel at 50 to 1, Lubie.
Okay.
50 to 1. Billy Horschel. There's some rationale behind it. Okay. We're blowing by the favorites.
Okay.
I have Scheffler's only 3.5 to 1. Schauffele 7 to 1.
And not doing any of that.
Who else is getting a lot of steam in there? Oh, Rory, of course, is like 8 to 1. He doesn't seem like he can clinch a win these days, does he?
I'm not the 8 to 1. I mean, that's not.
Morikawa. I mean, sure, always a possibility. That Oberg guy is due. Tom Kim. Everybody loves this guy. He hasn't really measured up this year. So far. But Horschel has been knocking on the door, Lubie. And he doesn't have a particularly flattering record at the FedEx St. Jude Classic.
Okay.
2 of the last 3 appearances. I don't think he was in the tournament last year because I didn't see anything on 20. Oh, no, yeah. I guess he played. 2 of his last 3 appearances, he has missed the cut.
Oh, Jesus.
His best finish in the tournament was in 2018 when he was 3rd. But...
Okay. 6 years ago.
He was right there. He was knocking on the door in the so-called Open. By all rights, I mean he kind of faded on the last few holes, but other than that, and he was playing, and the rain's hitting him in the face and all this stuff because he's off with the last groups now. Those guys, the guys at the top, were able to go ahead and persist and work their way through it. Horschel kind of had a couple of blips there, but he was right there and ended up finishing second officially.
Okay.
In the Open, and then he came back last week, and he was in this Wyndham thing, which I couldn't tell you if there are any similarities or differences, massive differences in the courses, but he did finish 7th. So he followed up that second place disappointment with a favorable finish in the next tournament, and at 50 to 1, Lubie. Are you ready? What? If you put down 100, you get 5,000. You put down 1,000, you got $50,000.
Crazy, but look, you're doing decent handicapping. I mean, the guy's playing better golf.
He's been knocking on the door, and he hasn't quite gotten there. Yeah, and he looks good. He looks like he's in good spirits. I mean, and I like the fact that he kind of shrugged off what had to be just a bitter disappointment because was he not the leader or co-leader going into the final round, Billy Horschel?
I think he was involved. I don't know.
In the Open. I'm talking about the British Open.
He was up there. I didn't know if he was leading.
Great. So anyway, I'm going to give him a shot here just to pop in there. I think one of those guys that's maybe turning the corner a little bit. He hasn't had a great year by any standard, but and he has 8 tournament wins, so it's not like he's never won a golf tournament. Although his last win was in April in something called where is this? I wrote it down. The Corrales Punta Conti or something. I don't even know where this was somewhere in the outskirts of Buenos Aires or something.
There you go.
50 to 1, Lubie. That's why he's 50 to 1. It's not a sure thing. Now you can hedge your brains out in golf also. So if we get this guy going, maybe we were in for a nice lucrative weekend. Let's hope so. Billy Horschel. If I give this out on Bury Your Bookie and it hits, that's the stuff of which legends are made.
Hero.
Never mind this thing with the Nationals the other night. I would be internationally acclaimed there, and everybody would be buying my service. All right. Thanks, Lubie. Always a pleasure. We will see you later today. Wicked Cheesesteaks.
Yes.
And that's just south of Commercial on Federal Highway on the east side. Great little spot. Draws all kinds of favorable reviews. Brian, a really good guy. And it's the favorite home of one Lionel Messi, who does he play anymore? Messi, is he still with Inter Miami? I see nothing about that. Nothing. Zero.
He had some kind of an injury with the what was it? This
is the most lucrative deal ever for a guy that wasn't even facing real competition.
And he barely plays. I don't even know. Like that's
he is the Canelo Alvarez of soccer. Messi. All right. Thanks, people, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, Degenerate Friday. We should have the professor with a big board, which is always a hoot. And we'll see you later on today, 1 o'clock. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And you can catch that on Let's Eat South Florida, where the people, I don't know, what's going on with that, man. This one lady has an obsession where she got like something. She didn't like one of the shrimps in the taco at Taco Craft.
Supposedly the pork belly, which we had and was fantastic, was dry. I don't even know what that means. There's so much fat there; it'd be hard for it to be flavorless and dry. But again, when they're serving so many people there, someone's going to be frustrated. They're literally just opened up a week ago, and they're like slammed every night.
Unbelievable, man! Crowds out the door
every day. I mean, look, I went on a weekday last week. We went on a weekday this week for lunch.
Yeah, it was jamming, man. That was great. And Mark Falsano, good guy. All right, we'll see you later on today, as we'll be chowing down on the great food from Brian and Wicked Cheesesteaks.
Yes, sir.
Which also draws very, very favorable reviews on Let's Eat South Florida. I mean, I'm glad to see that, because it's always good to have the good guys win. Like Billy Horschel at 50-1. Come on, Billy.
Let's go, Billy.
Imagine living and dying with this guy as he comes down the stretch there, the final 9 holes. McIlroy is lurking. Scheffler is starting to come on. Schauffele's got a birdie putt there on 15. And you're trying to hang on life and death with Sonny Leone in the Kentucky Derby. Oh, my God. Holy shit.
Good luck.
But if I can hit this, Lubie, it's worth the stab, because if I miss it, no one's going to remember. And if I hit it, it's legendary.
Honestly.
So Billy Horschel to win the St. Jude Classic. All right, we will see you guys later on and tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. See you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
The 600-pound women, man. They made a show out of it, Lubie. It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.